Welcome to Wayne Dalton's iDrive Garage Door Opener Installation Program. In this program, we'll demonstrate the general installation sequence for the iDrive Garage Door Opener for TorqueMaster system. This iDrive model can only be installed on a Wayne Dalton garage door with the TorqueMaster counterbalance system. This instructional video will greatly assist you in having a better understanding of how to properly install your iDrive system. This video is not meant to be used as the sole instructional tool on the installation of the iDrive system, but in combination with your owner's manual. In order to effectively use this instructional video, you should already have a base working knowledge of standard garage door installation. Since iDrive is part of the overall door system, some door assembly steps will be shown on this video. Remember, the procedure for installing a door with a TorqueMaster system is different from the torsion or extension spring systems. Consult your door installation manual for complete details regarding door installation. Prior to installation, it is recommended that you watch the video, then read the printed instructions to become familiar with all working terminology, visual recognition of iDrive parts, and the location of various components. Be sure to pay close attention to all warning labels and important safety notices as described in the installation manual. Follow all instructions carefully to ensure proper installation of the iDrive system. When installing iDrive on a new door, make sure you follow the instructions included with the door first. Then follow the instructions included with iDrive. When installing iDrive on existing doors, simply follow the instructions included with iDrive. The Wayne Dalton iDrive system is only to be used on a properly installed garage door. Installation on an improperly balanced door could cause severe injury. Have a qualified service person make all repairs to door, cables, spring assemblies, and all other hardware in need of repair prior to installing the opener. Before installing the iDrive opener, make sure your door meets the requirements for an iDrive installation. Review the pre-installation inspection page on the first page of the iDrive manual. There are special requirements for vertical track and top bracket assembly depending on the model door used with iDrive. Consult your iDrive installation manual for specific instructions. Today we're installing iDrive on a 9600 ThermoGuard door. When installing the top bracket on the top section, align the top holes in the bracket with the second set of holes in the end cap. Fasten in the normal fashion. To begin installation of the power head, lay the torque tube on the floor in front of the door with the labeled end positioned to the left. iDrive slides on the torque tube from left to right. Do not attempt to slide the power head over the left end of the torque tube label. The power head will not slide over the label. Look into the power head's left side to align the torque tube profile with the mark on the iDrive left-hand bearing. Once aligned, slide the power head onto the right-hand end of the torque tube. As the right end of the torque tube enters the power head, rotate the torque tube back and forth slightly to help find proper alignment. Do not force the power head onto the torque tube. Slide the power head completely onto the torque tube until the tube exits the right-hand bearing. Next, slide the power head to the center of the torque tube. Now that the power head is assembled, you'll begin to prepare the counterbalance and cable drums for installation. Ensure that the winding shafts are out approximately 5 inches on each side. For single spring applications, there will be no left-hand winding shaft. Lift the torque tube up and over the tops of the flag angles. Then move to the left to install the drum. The cable drums and torque tube are cam-shaped to fit together only one way, ensuring proper fit. Insert the left-hand winding shaft into the left-hand drum prior to sliding the drum over the torque tube. Take care in handling the loose winding shaft on the left side so that it does not slide back into the torque tube. The winding shaft must extend past the drum far enough to expose the splines and groove. Slide the drum until it seats against the torque tube. Align the winding shaft groove with a round notch in the flag angle and insert. Now repeat the same procedure on the right side, keeping in mind that the winding shaft is attached to the spring. Now that assembly of the cable drum is complete, we proceed to install the drive gear. Lubricate the entire circumference of the drive gear with the oil provided in the packet. Then slide the drive gear onto the winding splines until it touches the flag angle. No drive gear is required for the left side on single spring applications. Next, slide the end bracket over the drive gear. Attach the end of the bracket and the flag angle to the jamb with two 5/16 by 1 5/8 lag screws. Repeat this procedure for the opposite side. Now we move to the installation of the counter gear. Install the counter gear with the missing tooth pointing outward away from the end bracket. Press the counter gear onto the end bracket until the snaps engage. Select the appropriate left or right counter cover assembly and align the 0 on the counter cover with the raised rib on the end bracket. Press the counter cover assembly against the counter gear until it locks into place. Install the counter gear and counter cover assembly for the opposite side. No drive gear, counter gear, or counter cover assembly are required on the left-hand side for single spring applications. Our next step brings us to the installation of the power head support bracket. First, take a reference measurement from the top of the door to the torque tube by the counterbalance drums. Then locate the mounting pad. Place the support bracket underneath the power head to the right side of the motor, centered on the mounting pad. Level the torque tube to the top of the door section using the first measurement as a reference. Once the torque tube is level, secure the support bracket to the mounting pad with two 1/4 by 2 inch lag screws. Remove the flange nuts from the bottom of the power head. Lift and slide the power head over the support bracket, aligning the mounting studs with the bracket slots. Reattach the flange nuts, but do not tighten at this time. Our next step brings us to the installation of the disconnect assembly. First, attach the loose disconnect cable to the power head with the S-hook. Close both ends of the S-hook to lock the assembly together. Thread the disconnect cable through the hole in the right-hand end bracket and remove all slack between the power head and the end bracket. Mark your location on the right door jamb 6 feet above the ground to mount the disconnect handle. Align the top of the bracket with a mark. Fasten the bracket to the jamb with two 1/4 by 1 1/2 inch lag screws. Start the number 620 by 1/2 inch screw into the handle. Next, thread the disconnect cable through the top of the handle bracket and then the handle itself. Locate the handle in the full upper position of the handle bracket. Finally, remove all cable slack between the opener and the top of the handle bracket. Make sure to pull cable only enough to remove the cable slack. Pulling the cable more could cause the opener to disconnect from the torque tube. Tighten the number 620 by 1/2 inch screw into the handle until snug. Then tighten the screw an additional 1 to 1 1/2 turns to secure the cable to the handle. Trim off any excess cable from the bottom of the handle. Apply the emergency disconnect label next to the mounted bracket. Use mechanical fasteners if the label will not adhere with adhesive. Using the emergency disconnect, pull disconnect handle downwards and place it in the manual door-operated position. The motor will rotate 90 degrees from its packaged position. Now that the disconnect assembly is complete, you need to make the proper adjustments to the counterbalance cable and the counterbalance springs. To adjust the cable, rotate the cable drum until the set screw faces directly away from the header. The torque tube cam peak should be pointing straight up. Beginning with the right side, loosen the set screw approximately 2 turns to adjust the counterbalance cable. Using locking pliers, pull on the end of the counterbalance cable to remove all cable slack. Then check to ensure that the cable is aligned and seated in the first groove of the cable drum. Snug the set screw and then tighten an additional 1.5 turns. Snip off excess cable and tuck into slots on cable drum. Clamp locking pliers onto both vertical tracks just above the third roller. This is to prevent the garage door from rising while winding the springs. See the chart in Step 23 of the iDrive installation manual for proper spring tension setting. Beginning with the right-hand side, ensure the counterbalance cable is in the first groove of the cable drum. Press and hold in the canoe clip. Using a power drill with the 7/16 socket driver, carefully rotate the right-hand winding bolt clockwise until the counter shows 2 to 3 turns. This will keep the counterbalance cable taut while adjusting the left-hand side counterbalance cable. Now you can adjust the left-hand counterbalance cable tension. Make sure the counterbalance cable tension is equal for both sides prior to fully winding the springs the appropriate number of turns. Carefully rotate the winding bolt clockwise until the counter shows the correct number of turns for your door. Apply a light pressure to the canoe clip on the counter while winding the springs. It's important not to overwind. After the spring is wound, hold the lock nut in back of the end bracket stationary with the 7/16 wrench while rotating the winding bolt clockwise until snug. Tightening of the lock nut prevents the spring from unwinding. Repeat this process for the opposite side on double spring TorqueMaster systems. It's important to cautiously remove the locking pliers from the vertical tracks. Adjustments to the recommended number of turns may be required. If the door raises off the floor under spring tension alone, then reduce the spring tension until the door rests on the floor. If the door is hard to raise or drifts down on its own, then add tension to the spring. An unbalanced door such as this can cause problems with the iDrive's operation. Drum wraps supplied with TorqueMaster counterbalance systems are identified as right and left. To install them, place the drum wrap over the cable drum and under the iDrive disconnect cable. Align the outside flange over the outside edge of the cable drum and push the drum wrap down into the cable drum. Repeat this procedure for the opposite side. Next, we move to the wall station installation. Locate an area for the wall station within sight of the door and at a minimum height of 5 feet so that it is out of reach from small children. The wall station must be positioned clear of all moving parts of the garage door. If possible, install on wood framing. Using a 3/32 inch drill bit and the drilling template, drill the 2 mounting holes. Install the lower screw, leaving 3/16 inch of the threads exposed. Slide the wall station keyhole slot onto the lower screw. Once the wall station is fitted snugly on the lower screw, install the upper screw. Do not over-tighten. Next, remove the battery cover. Install 2 AAA batteries into the wall station, observing the polarity of both batteries, and reinstall the cover. After about 5 seconds, the up-down LEDs will begin to blink momentarily every 2.5 seconds. This is normal. Finish the installation by applying the entrapment label in a convenient location next to the wall station. Your next step is to install the light fixture. To reduce the risk of electrical shock, connect the light fixture only to a properly grounded 120-volt outlet. Do not use an extension cord or change the plug in any way. Disconnect the power to the receptacle before installing or removing the unit. Do not install the light fixture into a receptacle with a metal faceplate. The door must clear the light fixture when the door is in the up position. The light fixture is designed to mount directly to a standard 120-volt duplex receptacle. Disconnect power to the receptacle at the fuse breaker box before proceeding. To begin, locate a convenient duplex receptacle and remove the center screw in the receptacle cover. Holding the receptacle cover in place, insert the light fixture into the receptacle having the ground hole farthest from the center screw hole. Be careful, as the light kit may fall out of the receptacle. Secure the light fixture to the receptacle with a number 6 32 by 3/4 inch Phillips panhead screw and install the center hole plug. Screw a 75-watt maximum light bulb into the light socket and snap the diffuser into the light fixture. Turn the receptacle power back on at the fuse or breaker box. The light will blink one time when the power is re-established. Next, we connect power to the iDrive power head. Plug the female end of the power cord into the inlet connector on the right side of the opener. Push hard on the plug to make sure it's fully inserted into the power head. Then plug the other end of the opener power cord into the nearest convenient power receptacle. As soon as the power is applied to the opener power head, the unit will beep 2 times. To reduce the risk of an electrical shock, connect the power cord to a properly grounded 120-volt outlet. If the power cord is not long enough to reach the closest outlet, contact a service person for assistance. A power cord extender kit is available from your Wayne Dalton dealer. Excess power cord length must be routed and contained safely away from any moving members. Do not permanently attach the power cord to any part of the structure. Use only the flexible plastic clips supplied with the opener. To program the wall station, first pull the emergency disconnect handle to the manual door operated position. Next, press and release the red Program button on the front cover of the opener. The opener will beep once, indicating activation of the program mode. Next, press and hold the wall station light button until the opener beeps once. The wall station is now programmed. Return the emergency disconnect handle to the motor-operated position, which is the upper position. The motor may not drop when the disconnect handle is released from the manual position to the motor-operated position until the door operation is initiated. Program the light fixture. To program the light fixture, first press the red Program button on the light fixture. The LED on the light fixture and the incandescent lamp will turn on. Next, press the light button on the wall station. The light fixture lamp and LED will blink 3 times, indicating a successful programming operation. The light fixture will now respond to the opener and the wall station. Now that all general wiring is completed and accessories are programmed, you'll need to run your iDrive through a complete install routine. To begin this process, the emergency disconnect must be in the manual door operating position. First, manually raise the door to the full upward position. Next, manually lower the door to the full closed position, making sure you have complete freedom of movement. A properly balanced door should not take a lot of effort to open or close it by hand, and should stay in the open and closed positions once you let go of it. Prior to activating the install routine, tighten both 1/4 20 flange nuts, securing the power head to the support bracket. During the install routine, the door will go through 2 full up and down cycles. During installation, always keep a moving door in sight and away from other people and objects until it is completely closed. You should never cross the pathway of a moving door. The door must be in its fully closed position. Detent Adjustment. The motor is designed to pivot down after the door closes completely. If the motor does not pivot or pivots too soon, the detent may need to be adjusted in order for the door lock feature to work properly. Before making any detent pin adjustments, be sure to check the door balance. The door should not rise off of floor with spring tension alone, nor should it free fall from any open position. Due to variations in door installations, a detent pin adjustment may need to be made with a flathead screwdriver for proper pivoting of the motor. If the motor does not pivot down or only pivots down partially, the detent pin is set too hard. Using a flathead screwdriver, turn the detent pin counterclockwise in quarter-turn increments. Then operate the door to confirm adjustment. Repeat procedure until the motor pivots to the full down position. If the motor pivots down prematurely, or if the motor is slapping too aggressively against the top of the door, the detent pin is set too soft. Using a flathead screwdriver, turn the detent pin clockwise in quarter-turn increments. Then operate the door to confirm adjustment. Repeat this procedure until motor pivots to full down position when the door is completely closed. Next, you'll need a complete installation of the lock arm. First, insert the lock arm into the motor groove and align the proper holes depending on your track radius. To identify the Wayne Dalton track radius being used, measure the length of the flag angle and TorqueMaster end bracket and compare it to the diagram in your manual. Once the track radius has been established, secure the lock arm to the motor with an M5 by 0.8 Phillips panhead screw. With the lock arm now installed, you'll need to run the door through a complete contact obstruction test. A properly installed door must reverse when it contacts a 1.5-inch high object on the floor. A 2x4 board laid flat can be used for the obstruction test. Place a 2x4 laid flat on the garage floor under the door path. Next, activate the door to the closed position with a remote control. Upon contacting a solid object, the door should stop and then reverse direction within 2 seconds and travel to the full open position. If the door does not operate properly during the obstruction test, repeat the install routine, making sure the door is in the fully closed position prior to activation. Before programming, ensure the radio antenna is fully extended upward at a 45-degree angle to obtain best radio reception. Before using a handheld transmitter, the user must activate the transmitter. Activation of the transmitter is only necessary at installation. To activate the transmitter, press and hold the large transmitter button. The transmitter's LED will blink rapidly. After 2 seconds, the LED will turn on continuously. Release the button. The transmitter is now ready to be programmed to the opener. To program the transmitter, begin by placing the emergency disconnect handle in the manual door-operated position. This is done for safety reasons. Next, press and release the red program button on the front cover of the opener. The opener will beep once, indicating activation of the program mode. Then move the transmitter approximately 6 feet away from the opener. Press and hold the desired transmitter button until the opener beeps once. The transmitter is now programmed. Finally, return the emergency disconnect handle to the motor-operated position. Congratulations! The installation of your new Wayne Dalton iDrive system is now complete. Now take some time to look over your iDrive manual for any details that you may have missed. Finally, be sure to save your owner's manual for future use. Thank you for purchasing the Wayne Dalton iDrive system.